Hey everybody, this is Greg Petix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the Petixonian Institute of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to continue our exhaustive examination of Epic Illustrated Magazine. This is number 11, the April 1982 issue. This is a cover by James Fox. Don't know much about him. He's not mentioned in the overview section. This cover looks kind of different than the other covers. It looks kind of like it's more of a heavy metal cover than an Epic Illustrated cover. I don't know, it just looks different than the Epic covers we've been seeing. More high fantasy. Heavy metal had more just obtuse, kind of kick-ass images like this for their cover. Got the contents page, the overview. There's something interesting in the overview I thought was Joe Jesko illustrates a short story in here. And you might remember him from number 5. He did that, wrote and drew a short story in there. And he was studying to be a police officer, I believe in New York City. So they were like, basically, this might be the last contribution we get from him. But apparently his paperwork was lost for his police examination. So I guess he has a few more months before he becomes a full-time cop. So they're like, we're going to try to squeeze as much work out of him as we can until then. So apparently a story was planned. Archie Goodwin was going to write it. And it was a story set in post-atomic Holocaust America called The Last Run of T.J. Hackett. And that never appeared, and I'm bummed. That sounds pretty fun. I would have liked to have read that, especially with Joe Jesko's really nice art. So here we have the third chapter of the Earth-Kybin Wars that Ken Stacy has been illustrating for Epic Illustrated. We've seen the first 2 chapters in previous issues. These were written by Harlan and Ellison, these short stories, decades ago. I think in the 50s and 60s. But, you know, in the late 70s, early 80s, in the early 80s, Ken Stacy started adapting them. And this one's called Run for the Stars. Full color. And look at these colors, man. Ken Stacy is just really good at color. There's some really deep, rich stuff in here. So the story starts off on this planet that the Kybin have basically totally kicked the shit out of the Earth forces there. So there's a few Earthmen left, and, you know, basically there's martial law, as you could imagine. And this guy, our protagonist, he's basically robbing the dead. He's in this grocery store, and the shopkeeper's dead, so he's trying to find money in his pockets. These soldiers, Earth soldiers, come upon him, and they're basically telling him, you know, looting's a capital offense. We could shoot you right now. And we find out that he's a junkie. That's why he wanted the money. He tries to lie and says, I just wanted money for food. And he's like, you're in a grocery store, you moron. You could have eaten anything here. So these guys like examine him, and one of them says, this guy's perfect for our plan. And he's like, what the hell are you guys up to? You know, what do you have planned for me? Just because they don't shoot him like they said they would, and they drag him off. So they take him to this surgical theater in their base, and they plant this device deep in his chest. He even wakes up during the surgery, and he fucking passes out again, of course. He's just freaking out. So he's asking for more of his dream dust, you know, because he's a junkie. And all the soldiers are just disgusted with him. They're like, 2 million people are dead out there. You're lucky if I had my way, I'd kick you to death right now, you piece of shit. So we find out what the whole plan is here. And they send a transmission to the Kybin forces. And they tell them that there's a bomb, a planet-destroying bomb. They've set it. And every single person on this planet's going to die, including all the Kybin forces. these guys figure they're dead anyway, so they're like, you know, we're going to go out in a blast of fury. But they basically say we'll wait to blow it up, or we won't blow it up, as long as you let our last ship, or our last few ships evacuate. Because they can't transmit back to Earth. Their beacons and their radio towers or whatever were destroyed by the Kaiben. Because the Kaiben really beat the shit out of the Earth forces. So they basically, it's kind of like, they blackmail them. They say, let us go, and you can have the planet. If you don't, we're going to blow up the whole thing and kill a lot of your army. And the Kaiben agree. But the little tricky part of their plan is that they put that device they put in our protagonist's chest. It's that bomb. So they figure it's going to take them a while to find that bomb. You know, because this guy's going to be scurrying. He's a little Weasley rat guy, terrified of dying. He's going to be running around trying to escape, and it's going to take him a while, which will give them more time to escape to Earth, the soldiers. So they just totally abandon him there. Really nice colors here. So he finds some of his dream dust, and before this he was just panicking, just basically fatalistic, just like, oh, I'm gonna fucking die, oh my god. But he takes some of his drug and he feels better. He feels more confident. It's kind of like cocaine, space cocaine. So he sees the Kaiben for the first time, and he's freaking out. He's like, shit. Every single Kaiben soldier on the planet's looking for him. But this guy, he just wants to live so bad. He gets up the nerve. He's just like, I don't want to die. I've got to, step up and fight these guys. So this first guy looking for him, he knocks him out, kicks him to death with his boot. And he's hiding, and from the shadows, he's trying to escape. He's trying to make it to the mothership, and we'll find out why soon. This giant creature native to the planet, kind of like a sea monster, is going to kill him. All of a sudden, these laser bolts come out of nowhere and kill the sea monster. It's the Kaiben, but they don't even see him. They just saw the monster and killed it because they didn't want it to attack. So he's kind of hunkering in the shadows. They're not looking at their trackers to track him, because they're just examining the kill that they just did. So this guy figures it's all or nothing. I mean, I'm probably going to die. There's like 10 soldiers down there, but I got no choice. I got to try to take these guys out. And he does. And he actually prevails. And he kills all these soldiers, gets their weapons. More beautiful colors here. Really nice. Constacey has such a unique style. Nobody draws like him at all. I wish I had a word to describe it. For some reason, all I can think of is choppy. Like, everything's kind of like angular, and like, look at these wrinkles on this shirt. It's just like choo, choo, choo. So this guy, turns out he's quite a formidable fighter, and he's killing more and more of them, sneaking up on them, gets this knife off of one of them and kills some more with the knife, and he's getting closer and closer to the mothership. This interlude I don't quite understand. A human shows up. I guess this guy was left behind too, and attacks him. But our protagonist kills him. But he didn't even realize it, doesn't even feel it. That human lasered his arm off. We can see this cauterized wound stump here. So he didn't even feel it, and he's not bleeding to death because it's cauterized. So he continues on his little mission. So, once again, just fighting through all these Kaibens. Turns out he's got a real skill for this. He's a regular James Bond. Or maybe a Sergeant Fury. Sergeant Rock. So he makes it to the ship, the mothership. It's pretty much abandoned because every single soldier on the planet is out looking for him. Because it's a race against the clock. And he finds a surgeon who speaks English. And he says, you're going to take this fucking thing out of me, or I'm going to shoot you in the head. So, of course, he can't be put under during the surgery, so he actually stays awake for the whole surgery. And this guy extracts the bomb from his gut. And it just shows how this guy now, he's just like, he goes from this pathetic, junky, wheezy little fuck, and now he's just like, got stones to beat the band. He's just like, turning out to be Rambo. And then he tells the guy to put the bomb on his stump so he can control it. He can set it off anytime he wants, at will. Also, if he ever dies and his heart stops, it'll go off, so nobody can kill him. And if anyone tries to remove it, it'll go off. So basically, he's unstoppable. He kills the captain of the ship and then makes an announcement to all the Kaiban soldiers on this world. And basically tells them, you have no reason to fear me. I'm offering you a good deal. Just, you guys follow me. Because does it really matter who leads the fleet? As long as you conquer galaxies. That's what we all want. That's what you guys want. And he says, our first destination? Earth. And he just looks so angry and victoriously angry. So he's going to get revenge on those Earth bastards who, fucked him over. And he says, he turns away from the port and he's free of this world now. They're going to fly off to Earth and free of the dust. He needed neither now. Now he was God on his own. Now he would get even. Good story, man. I really like just the transformation of this character. It's really interesting. So here we have the second chapter of Abraxas and the Earthman, written and illustrated by Rick Veitch. I gotta learn how to say his name. Veitch? Rick, I think it's Rick Veitch. This chapter is called Initiation. So the crew of the Yorick, we find out, I should mention, that tree that their spaceship that looks like a bunch of mutated trees, it's called the Yorick. And the crew of the Yorick are basically mining ice crystals off Saturn. It's for water, for the tree ship. And we see John Isaac, our protagonist from the first issue. He's now in this cocoon. And after the Zlexlu surgeons performed that weird surgery on him, now he's got to kind of a cocoon for a while. So we see the crew all bantering. This one goofy guy sings this salty song about Captain Rotwing. And Captain Rotwing calmly just says, have that man flogged. Even though everyone liked his song, but they got to do it, so he gets flogged. And then within the cocoon, within John Isaac's mind, he's soaring far behind the walls of sleep. And he says to Zlexu, I'm confused. Is this real or am I dreaming? And the surgeon says it is both. The images you see merely illustrate what is occurring in your brain on the chemical level. Here we see some more of that crazy multimedia Rick Veitch stuff. He found these I think there's clouds, and he kind of collaged them, so it just makes this weird texture, very, very smoky clouds. And then the airbrush colors, it doesn't clash too much. Like a normal comic artist, if you had photos, it would really look weird. I like these rings of Saturn too. Really pretty colors. So there's this giant plane of heads. Everything here is on a symbolic level. And they're just really weird. They, kind of look like stone heads. And all of them have this, cut down the middle of their heads. Like an open wound. It's all red. And this is all of his past lives. And he finds his head, his current life. And the surgeon says the fissures running through the forehead of each figure represent the rift that exists between the two hemispheres of the human brain. And Isaac says, what are you going to do? He says, I will heal your split earth, man. So we go within the head, and here's the rift. And there's a little bridge here, and because everything's symbolic here. The war of the opposites, between the left and the right side of the brain, is kind of shown as like these armies, these soldiers fighting each other. I don't know why this army is a dinosaur, though. That's kind of funny. And at his command, the surgeon says, let the two spheres be joined. And the chasm totally converges. Crushes that bridge with all the soldiers on it, too. So they fly out before it seals up. And he comes out of a cocoon then. Crawls his way out like an insect. And all of a sudden he can feel different. He feels the difference in his brain. He can see infrared, ultraviolet radio waves. They gave him a transparent membrane as a skin. That's why he looks like he's just a, skinless body, which he couldn't live that way. It would be excruciating. But he does have this weird membrane. But not his skin, obviously. So he's been mutated physically and spiritually. He's not sure why, though. So now he's walking around New York, the ship, and the crew grab him, and they take him to Straub, the first mate. He's got this giant arthropod. Is that what you call octopus squid things? Whatever, octopus squid. He's got this weird mask. And Rick Weiss just took a photo of a squid and put it on his, plastered it on the art page, the art paper. Here we see again. But it kind of, once again, it's not that glaring because everything's lushly airbrushed around it. Almost looks photographic, so really interesting techniques he uses. So basically they're going to haze him. Just like how seamen in our world, sailors, when they cross the equator for the first time, it's like this initiation. So this is for those who have not yet traveled beyond the speed of light. And so he's never done that. So he's going to get hazed. They're going to break him in. But Isaac acts instinctively to protect himself. He's got these new powers. So he makes his aura ripple into focus and expand rapidly. And it kind of knocks these guys off their feet like a concussion grenade. He doesn't kill them. He just wants to, defend himself. So Captain Rotwing sees the whole thing and says, excellent, Earthman, excellent. Surgeons did well. And he asks where Falco is, his buddy from the first issue, the captain of the submarine. And Rotwing says he's following his captain's orders like a good crewman. I wish you'd take a lesson from that, And he's like, are you serious? He's like, I'll never serve under a killer like you. You murdered over 100 sailors in that seabed, in that submarine. Good men, The only debt I owe you is one of vengeance. So he says, reconsider. We need you for that marvelous double brain. And basically, Isaac's adamant. But he says, well, you know what? I think I have something that will convince you to help us out. And he throws his skin, the last bit of his humanity that the surgeons, peeled off of him last issue. And he's instantly cowed. He really wants his skin back. He doesn't like being inhuman. And he basically says, if you obey me for this whole voyage, the surgeons will sew this back onto you at the end of the voyage. And so he's going to go along then. So he's going through the ship looking for Falco. Crazy colors. I don't even know what the hell this is. I don't know, some weird photo collage montage craziness. This is just normal airbrush art, but oh man, the colors here, so rich. It's blood red, beautiful. And he finds Falco. They chopped off his head, but he's still bipedal. He's still ambulate. And he starts crying. Waves of despair roll in. But then all of a sudden, he hears the song, a familiar song that vibrates along the tuning fork of his soul. Because the Yorick is approaching the whale planet. And that's where we end this chapter. I'm really liking this Abraxas and the Earth, man. I forgot how much I liked it. This is really interesting. We have two stories here by Leopoldo Duranona, an Argentinian cartoonist, did a lot of stuff for Warren magazines. But he's adapting two Franz Kafka stories. And this first one's called An Imperial Message. And both of these stories are kind of like, how Kafka-esque. They're just kind of these stories of futility, and they're frustrating, basically. Kind of like life. So we see this amazingly, all-powerful emperor, and he's on his deathbed. And the emperor is sending a message to you. It's in the second person, the humble subject. And, the subject is very far from the castle. He's on the outmost rim of the empire. So he gives this message. His bed is so big, he has to talk into this little speaking horn to his, messenger. He gives the message to him, and then he dies. So all this is describing how impossible it is for this guy to even get out of the castle. This castle is insanely huge. It's the size of, I think, a county. Look at this. You can see all these throngs of people, hills, but it's all under these vaulted arches. This is a ceiling here. Who knows for how long it goes on? Maybe it's the size of Rhode Island. I don't know. Just this castle is impossibly huge. So the messenger's making his way through the crowd. It's incredibly slow going. He has to shove his way through. He's losing his strength. And then the narrator just describes just how futile it is. And if he succeeded in that, nothing would be gained. He must fight his way down the next stair. And if he succeeded in that, nothing would be gained. The courts still have to be crossed. And after the courts, the second outer palace. And once more stairs and courts. And once more another palace. And so on for thousands of years. Look at this page. He, even though he just drew everyone, the top of their head as little circles, that's a lot of freaking work. It's insane. We're seeing this, huge Rhode Island sized cathedral and all the little people in it, and he's got to make his way out of it. Yeah, Leo Duranona knew his stuff. He's a good illustrator. And then, of course, it just keeps going. Even if you make it out of the palace, the city, and then whatever. And nobody could fight his way through this. But then we see, but you sit at your window when evening falls and dream it to yourself. Just a very, nebulous, weird story. Really fascinating, though. In this similar vein, we have Before the Law. And this man comes to, he wants to see the law. And there's this doorkeeper there. This huge guy. And, he wants admittance to the law. And the guy says it's not possible at this moment to let you in. And he says, if you get in without my permission, even though I'm pretty powerful, yet I am only the lowest doorkeeper. From hall to hall, there is one doorkeeper after another, each more powerful than the last. The third doorkeeper is so terrible, even this guy's scared of him. So he basically waits. He starts waiting. And he waits for days, and he waits for years. And he's an old man now. And he gives everything he has to this guy and, bribes him. But it doesn't work. He takes the stuff only so he feels that he's, he's left something undone, that he hasn't left something undone. Yep, the man's getting older and older. He's shrinking even. And finally, he goes up to him. He knows he's got just a few moments left. He's like a tiny little guy now compared to the doorkeeper. And he says, everyone strives to reach the law. How does it happen then that in all these years, no one but me has ever begged for admittance? And the doorkeeper grabs him in his hand like a little rodent. And he screams into his ear, roars into his ear because he knows the guy's deaf. He says, no one else could ever be admitted here. This gate was intended solely for you, and now I am going to shut it. So it's just this total fuck you. It's just like bleak as fuck. But man, look at this art. It's some nice shit. That guy could draw. Here we have the second chapter of Weird World, The Dragon Masters of Clarn, written by Doug Munch, penciled by John Buscema, rendered by Marie Severin, and painted colors by Steve Oliff. I do not like this series. I just want to say, this seems even worse than the first one. It seems very slipshod. Like, look how crappy that logo is. Even a normal monthly Marvel goofy superhero comic would have a better logo. And it seems like it's really, the art is kind of slapdash in this one. I don't know what happened. Even the colors are kind of muddy, and I mean, there's some nice stuff here and there. Steve Oliff could do some nice painting colors. But basically, as we left off, the two cute little elves, Tyndall and Valana, and their old friend, the dwarf Mudbutt, are heading to Skyhook. Valana's been poisoned by evil. She's getting meaner and meaner. And she's so corrupted that one night she tries to seduce old Mudbutt. And he's freaked out. He's like, get away from me. This is weird. And Tyndall's just crying. He's like, I don't know what to do. She's so distant. And then the cataclysms that have been rocking Weird World recently. You know, Mudbutt described them last time. Just nature's out of whack, basically. So there's a rain of stones. Just from the sky, stones are falling down. So they jump in the water, and they come out at this beach. And then we have some goblins, a goblin platoon, and they're gonna take Valana, and as the king. This is the king. He's gonna take her as his flesh that is for saving, as opposed to flesh that is for eating. Yeah, flesh for not eating. Valana's kind of into it. She's so evil now. She's just like, sure, come on, big boy. But you know, Tyndall knocks the goblin over and starts fighting him. Mudbutt luckily has some kind of magic power rod. Breaks all their swords in two. So they make it away from the goblins. But the goblins are fast on their heels. And they're trying to make it to that Skyhook place they want to get to. Because they have to meet this powerful sorcerer. And it looks like all hope is lost. We see the gods again, the light and dark gods. The dark gods are getting even more powerful, so his power rod dies on him. They're like, we're fucked. Because basically the whole troll army is protecting the Skyhook. Yeah, I didn't really point out this panel. They just think they're gonna, they escape the goblin platoon, but there's the whole freaking like thousands of them. So the sorcerer is in this window and kind of helps them. Zaps a lot of the trolls and makes a little bridge for them to run up. And then here's the shocking ending. It turns out the sorcerer is a woman, Leonisa. And but she's very weak from her because the dark side is winning in the heavens. And also she just did that awesome magic. So we'll find out what happens next issue. Weird World. I can't wait till it's done. Here we have a nice tribute to Wally Wood, who had just recently died at this time. I think Archie Goodwin wrote it because he knew him personally. I'm just assuming, though. Just shows his whole career. This is like his early stuff for Avon in like the late 40s, early 50s. I guess this one is the early 50s. His EC work, some of his EC work. His Mad Magazine stuff. Look at this. This really kind of looks like Kirby, though, some of this machinery. I wonder if, he had Kirby was over the house one day and he said, I'll help you out on this one. His Dynamo from Tower Comics. And this is from he pitched a comic strip to the syndicates, where every week would have a different historical character. And look at this beautiful Joan of Arc. God, I wish that happened. Just every week, imagine having a beautiful page of Wally Wood art. Such a great illustrator. Some various other projects he did over the years. Sad. Wally Wood's a sad character. Excuse me. Here's that aforementioned Joe Jusko story. And this is written by Robert Rhodey, who went on to be a comic writer. He has done various comics over the years. This is his very first published story, though. It's a short story, but heavily illustrated by Joe Jusko. This is kind of making fun of the sword and sorcery barbarian genre. I guess more the barbarian genre. And Joe Jusko kind of does a good job. He still has that amazingly like photorealistic style, but he really is leaning on the satire, like this Conan type guy. He just has a stupid look in his face. He looks like a big dummy. And it's almost like he's painting cheesier than normal. Like the way this woman's clinging to his leg. Joe Jusko's better than this normally. But I think he's doing it on purpose. So it's just a total parody of barbarian comics. This obvious Conan doppelganger meets this sorceress. And she's just mocking him the whole time. She's like, oh God, you're so stupid. You're pathetic. And of course she's just getting angry. It's like, how dare you talk to me? And like a dummy. He's just a big dummy. But a lot of this, I don't know if he meant this on purpose. That looks like such a parody of John Buscema's Conan. That looks like he looked at a John Buscema drawing, which I think is okay in my book, because I think John Buscema is very overrated. And I'm glad that he's taking them down a peg. So whatever, it's cute, I guess. It's nice to see these dumb barbarians get their due. And she runs off. He's all wounded. Her little pet bit him in the leg, and he's just meh. And then let me go back to where we were. Oh, I thought we skipped one. Never mind. And here we have, I believe, what is this, the third chapter? I lost track. No, this is the second chapter of Marada the She-Wolf, written by Chris Claremont and drawn by John Bolton. Yeah, John Bolton's really hitting his stride. This is a beautiful illustration in here. So as we left off, Marada was talking to Donal, her old friend. And that succubus, we saw the evil wizard summon last time. She attacks. And it looks like she's about to kill Marada. And then Arianrod, Donal's daughter, shows up, who's now very good friends with Marada. And she's a young sorceress in training, and she totally blasts this succubus. I love this figure work. Just leaping out of the water. It's really dynamic. But it doesn't kill her, as we can see, And she attacks Marada again, but then Arianrod, is trying to fend her off with her sorcery. But the succubus grabs Arianrod and teleports away. So Donal died in the attack. This is nice art. John Bolton is so good. And he's relatively young in his career, He's probably been drawing only for a handful of years at this point. So Donal's dead. His mother, the witch queen, she's grieving. So Marada suits up. She's going to go and rescue Arianrod. Her spirit was broken by being raped by that demon. But, she's Marada. She realizes, I got to do what I got to do. Look at this fucking great illustration here. It's beautiful. All of these pages. That figure. So she's getting closer to the evil wizard's castle. All these demons are trying to kill her. She's got to fight her way through all these lesser demons. Man, this is good stuff. This giant monster attacks her. So she makes it to the castle. There's the evil wizard. There's the demon that raped her. And there's Arianrod. So her and the demon start fighting. And Marada's got her groove back. She's, she's not timid anymore. And she's winning against this demon. And the wizard realizes that. So he casts the spell, and all of a sudden there's these flowers, and they give off a scent. And it's kind of weird. They're almost like, it's like Spanish fly. Because she says, the flowers, their perfume dulls my mind. It's becoming hard to think. While they make my body, ... incredibly sensitive. The slightest touch is a caress. I ache. I hunger. And then she's just kneeling there as the demon comes in for the kill. But I think, well, she wasn't faking because she's thinking that. But she shakes it off at the last second and guts the demon. And then she kills the evil wizard. And she takes Arianrod back to her homeland. And it's a nice happy ending. So that's it for this issue, except for the letters page. And we don't need to get into that. So there you go. Epic Illustrated number 11, April 1982. Pretty good issue. It would be a lot better if Weird World wasn't in it. But everything else was pretty damn interesting. So I hope you liked it. And I hope you come back and watch more episodes from the Petixonian Institute of Comic Book Studies.